Welcome, everyone. My name is Megan Jones, and I am the Program Manager for the Saskatchewan Association of Recreation Professionals. Just wanted to let you know that we will be recording this session for those that are unable to attend today. So it will be available on our website for future viewing. And if you have any questions during the session, just please use the chat function and we'll get to them at the end. So before I introduce our speaker, I would like to recognize and acknowledge that the Saskatchewan Association of Recreation Professionals reaches lands covered by Treaties 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10, the traditional territories of the Cree, Dakota, Dene, Lakota, Nakota, and Saulteaux peoples, and the homeland of the Métis. We respect and honor the treaties and move forward with Indigenous nations in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. So our speaker today is Sarah March. Sarah is the owner of Grey Dove Design House, a marketing agency based out of Regina. So to date, Sarah has worked with 72 different local businesses, social media accounts on 9 different platforms. So one of her career highlights was being a social media lead at the racetrack and casino in Calgary and flying out to Colorado to teach 2 of the sister casino staff how to do social media for their business. So please welcome Sarah March. Sarah, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Megan. My name is Sarah. I'm the owner of Grey Dove Design House, a marketing agency based out of Regina, Saskatchewan, and we focus on helping businesses and nonprofits with limited time and resources in social media, marketing, graphic design, and just helping businesses and nonprofits communicate their desired message to their intended audiences. So today I'm going to be sharing with you what I've discovered over the course of my career so far in hopes of helping you be able to manage your businesses and organizations' Facebook and Instagram accounts easier, or hopefully you'll be able to pick up some tips and tricks along the way. So thank you for joining. So today we'll discuss first creating meaningful content. Creating meaningful content. The second will be best practices when posting, and then tips and tricks for a stellar strategy. And last but not least, we'll have a little short Q&A session. Okay, so for creating meaningful content. So I like to focus, chunk things down to 3 or 5. So for creating meaningful content, it's important that you are thinking about understanding your audience's needs. So yes, you have a social media account, so you have a Facebook or Instagram or even a Twitter account, but you're following, who are you communicating to? What do they need from you, and what will keep them following you and engaged? So it's important when you're thinking about your audience's needs that you're making sure that you're delivering content that meets those needs. And then also creating content that your audience can connect with. So in this process, you'd like to obviously understand your audience's needs, deliver the content, and then that meets those needs that they can connect with, and then also stay true to your organization's brand at the same time. So let's kind of dive into those points. There was a workbook sent today, and we'll kind of quickly go through all of the slides. And then if we have time, we'll loop back to try to do the workbook. And the 4 exercises in the workbook. So for creating meaningful content, first, understanding your audience's needs. So who are you speaking to? Why is your existing social media followers following you? And what are their expectations and needs? So I kind of did this really quickly for SARP. And so this is also in the workbook, but who are you speaking to? So for SARP, members, recreation professionals in Saskatchewan, and then like partnered organizations. Why is your existing social media following you? So they see value in advocacy, networking, and education. And for the related partner organizations, we have like-minded organizations where we are able to pool our offerings together to help our members. And what are their expectations, needs? So SARP will communicate and share content related to advocacy, networking, and education that will benefit its members. And then SARP will also communicate and share partner organizations that benefit recreation professionals and vice versa, in hopes that our partners are also finding value in our content and sharing it with their members and their following. So creating meaningful content. So content that can connect with, that your audience can connect with. The 3 points that I would say is that the content should be either interesting, informative, or entertaining. So in these examples here, I tried to pull some from the industry. Southwest District example, interesting. So there's a recent post about the Ballots Talk Day, and they did a video I thought was really well done, and it was very interesting. So I would say that's kind of in the interesting category. More informative, Prairie Central District for Sport, Culture, and Recreation. They shared some stuff that would be of value for recreation professionals and also just Saskatchewan wanting to learn more about recreation. So that's the informative category. And then last but not least is the Life Saving Society example. So this one's actually an old one, but I've used it before in many presentations because I just loved it. May the 4th be with you, kind of playing on it. And so that's grouped under the entertaining category. So when you're creating content, just keep in mind that obviously you're trying to speak to your audience and create stuff that they'll find value in, but also that just trying to loop it into, is it interesting, informative, or entertaining? Okay, so staying true to your organization's brand. Obviously, like, what is your organization all about and what does it stand for? So your mission, business or organization's mission, vision, values, this is a good thing to think about because you want to make sure that when you're communicating from an authentic standpoint. And then what personality does your organization want to be perceived as? So are you witty, sincere, excited, playful, rugged, competent, sophisticated, professional, authoritative? We could keep going on, but like, what kind of personality is true to your organization's brand? And then that also loops into tone. So when you're writing or when you're communicating, mostly through social media, what's your tone? And make sure that it's cohesive back to all of your other organization's communications. So are you clinical, humble, direct, personal, honest, scientific? These are things to really think about. So this is also part of the workbook exercise that we'll hopefully be able to loop back to at the end of this. And I quickly went ahead and did some just from a SARP standpoint. So obviously, like, SARP is a member organization committed to the recreation profession by representing and supporting current and future recreation professionals. Personality, I put professional and sincere, and tone, I put personal and humble. And I see that there's a chat, so I'll quickly open the chat. Sorry. Okay. So yes, we will loop back to this first topic just because there's 2 really good workbook exercises in here that I think would be really valuable if we hashed out some time to go through it at the end. Now, best practices when posting. I kind of tried to creep as many of the attendees that had registered by this weekend, just to kind of see where you're at and hopefully be able to match that with the information provided. So best practices when posting copy. So copy is the text in a social post. And I'm assuming that all of us know by now that a social post normally has text on it and then also some sort of visual. So the first one obviously is, sorry, I missed the slide. So copy, visuals, platform features, hashtags, and tagging. So we'll go over the best practices for all of these. But yes, a social post is a copy and visual. So the copy is the text part. And here's the do's and don'ts that I have for that. When you're creating a social post, I do encourage you to create lots of paragraph spacing, because if someone just sees like a bunch of text all at once, they're likely to be like, nope, I don't have time to read that. But if you have it in little piecemeal sentences and lots of spacing in between, it's a lot more easy for the eyes and someone to be like, oh, this doesn't look like as much information as it could if it's all grouped in one paragraph. So include lots of paragraph spacing, keep the sentences short and to the point. So I understand that I guess you're communicating and you want to communicate with proper English, but not the type of literacy that you learn in your post-secondary education where you're expected to create essays. You're just trying to keep this really minor. The copy should really just work in parcel with the photo, the visual, and it should just be like super easy to digest because we're all kind of inundated in this day and age, especially on social media. There's so much content. So if you want to grab someone's attention, make it inviting. And so also to create an inviting type of copy, start with a punchline. So fun fact, that's like super basic, but it could be longer. You could do like a long tail kind of question, or you could just something that will make people want to keep reading, like a hook, line, and sinker kind of thing. And include at the end a call to action. So what kind of action do you want from the social post? Here on this example, it's stay tuned for more tidbits about our association, but this could also be like share, double tap and share us some love, or comment below what your thoughts are. So call to actions are, or visit our website for more information even. Include a call to action just to kind of try to get what you want to accomplish from your post so that you're not just posting, you're actually having a purpose behind your posts. And then also emojis. There's a bajillion emojis out there, and actually like it's really easy just to break up something. Within this example, there's just one emoji, but there's lots of emojis that can also kind of like part and parcel work with the copy so that you can shorten the text down. So I would really encourage you to become kind of aware of all the emojis out there and what they mean, and maybe pick 2 to 3 for your brand that you can constantly kind of use reoccurringly. And then spell check. I've been doing management for long enough now, but it's just whenever you do a post, spell check it. So I would say the easiest way to do a social post, obviously, if you're in the moment and you're on your phone, you may not have that opportunity to spell check it. But if you do have the opportunity where you're on the desktop and you're pre-planning your posts, I encourage you to just copy it and then paste it into a Word document and do a quick spell check, because it reinforces with your brand when you don't have any spelling errors. When you have spelling errors in your post, people will pick up on that really quickly, and they'll be I guess it will kind of like lessen your brand a bit, where people are questioning your experience and authority in the industry. So also back up your work. When you're just copying and pasting that post into the Word document, save it after. I could say that the power would be going out, but there's a million other reasons. Sometimes there's just like a glitch on one of the social media platforms or scheduling tools. And if you've spent all that time creating valuable copy for a social media post, it really hurts the heart if you lose it. So when you're doing a spell check, just keep that Word document, and maybe just that could be like your Word document for 2022 for all of your social media posts. And then back to kind of like the grammar. Yes, I know that under the proper communication that you learn with spelling numbers, 9 and under are normally spelt out. But for social media, I really recommend just writing the number, regardless of what it is. Even if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just write the actual number 5 and not spelling it out. That's just another way to make your copy a lot more digestible when people are scrolling through. And then smart words. So dumb it down, dumb the post down, keep it super easy to read. Don't use tons of long, lengthy words that are just going to kind of go above people's heads. Your goal is that you want people to be able to engage with your content. So you want to make it as inviting as possible. Okay, so the other part of a social post obviously is the visual. And so do use properly sized visuals. So there's different visuals for a social post. So there's the social post picture, there's the story, there's the reel, which is really picking up in popularity. And then there's also the video. So on the right-hand side of the screen here, I actually have all of the sizes of the properly sized social media posts. And then at the bottom right here, I also have 2 visual examples, because I know that lots of people are like, can I have a high resolution video or high resolution photo? And sometimes not everybody knows what that means. So it really is just the size of the photo. So if a social post is 1080 by 1080 pixels, that image needs to be at least 1080 by 1080 pixels, or else it's going to look distorted, like that top left-hand photo. While on the bottom right-hand, it's crisp and clear. So when I say do use high resolution visuals, it's do use visuals that are properly sized for the type of social post that you're about to do. And then do use a mixture of like the types of visuals being shared. So obviously the photos are much easier to use and the stories are pretty easy as well. But dabble in reels, or if you have a video, I really encourage you to kind of mix up your content when you can. Obviously, the videos and the reels take a lot more time than posts and stories. So it may be like sprinkling one in every other month or something, but it is good to kind of keep things fresh. And videos and reels are kind of the hot thing on social media. And so if you're doing organic content, those are really good pieces to get more traction on your social posts and get them in front of more views. And also as a consumer, like your audience likely would prefer seeing a video or a reel over a picture. So that's something to keep in mind. And how do you get all of the, like, how do you get a properly sized social post? And there's an amazing program that's free to use, and it's called Canva. So there, they actually already have all of these templates. So if you want to just hit like, I want to create a Facebook post or an Instagram story or something like that, they already have lots of these sizes formatted. So it's super easy to use that. And it's, you can share it easily with teams, and you don't need a high level of graphic design skills to use it. So super neat. And then the don't on this for visuals is do not share a post without a visual. It won't get seen. I think our attention spans are like the size of the length of a goldfish right now on social media because of all the content that's being shared. So to share meaningful content, you want to make sure that you're also like you're posting a post with a visual so that people can actually you can grab their attention, and then you can kind of work your way down into getting your message across to them. So I do see that there's a message in the chat, and I'll just check the chat after this one section, if that's okay. So I kind of divided this up by Facebook and Instagram because it seemed like those were the 2 most popular accounts with the people attending. So platform features. I think that it's really important to know the different scopes of the platforms because Facebook and Instagram have different features. And if you're doing certain things on Facebook and then you do them on Instagram, it's going to look out of place and vice versa. So for Facebook, do add captions to your videos and reels. So I have that in this first example in the left-hand corner with Dr. Rebecca Janot. And then on the right-hand side here, I have do include stickers and GIFs to your story, or GIFs. You can't tell, but this circle be continued, that's actually a GIF. So it adds some movement to the story. Also underneath behind it, I always add a location sticker. So there's the location sticker of Saskatchewan hidden behind it. And that helps because the more stickers that you have and GIFs, it produces more engagement. People it captures their attention, and it forces people kind of to engage more. And also it's good for if someone's looking up something under Saskatchewan, the location, this story is going to pop up, which is pretty cool. Also, do link your Facebook and Instagram stories. So I kind of, for best practice, I always do the story on Instagram, and then I make sure that it's linked to Facebook. So when I'm doing a story, I'm pushing it through Instagram, just because it's my preference. I like their layout more for the GIFs and whatnot. And then it automatically shares to Facebook, bam. So then you're reaching all the people on those platforms that day that happen to come across it. And then also, if your organization has an event coming up, create an event that's good for the algorithm, and it opens up your brand to a lot more individuals that may not have viewed it in the first place. For Facebook, though, I would say, although I encourage you to link your stories, I would say not to link your posts, as they will likely include some key differences. One of these being hashtags, and actually the other being URLs, both of which are coming in the next few slides. So link your Facebook and Instagram stories, but avoid linking your Facebook and Instagram posts. And then again, this was already mentioned, but don't create posts that are only text. And in the bottom right-hand corner, so Facebook has some differences from their app to their desktop. I try to do most of the work on the desktop because I like to do spell check, and it's quite a bit quicker if you have certain things saved already on your computer. But one of the differences that I've noticed recently is that you cannot post a reel on Facebook through the desktop. So in this bottom example here, it's just a screenshot of how there's no option for the reel, but you can, however, do it on your mobile. So there's a few other ones, like when you're mentioning another business in a post, sometimes it won't show up and it's really hard to get it to work on the app. However, on the actual Facebook platform, it's just a quick copy and paste. So if something isn't working for you on the desktop, just check it out on the app on your phone, and vice versa, and that will hopefully sort the issues out. And then we're coming to Instagram. So back to that whole don't link your Facebook and Instagram accounts for the posts. This is one of the reasons why is the URLs. So URLs work great on a Facebook post. However, on Instagram, if you are putting it in the copy portion of the post, it's just going to come up like this first don't option where it's actually not clickable. And the chances that someone's actually going to take the time while they're on their Instagram app on their phone to try to copy that with their finger and then go into another browser and paste it is highly unlikely. So what I recommend is just to put, if you're trying to get someone to, for example, in this example, it's register now, I would just say register now, link in bio. And then it brings you to the bio. Now, I think one issue that some people find is that you can only do have one URL in your bio. So that gets complicated if you're sharing lots of content where you need people to go to different links, URL links. However, that's where Linktree comes in. And Linktree is free as well. And I really recommend that if you do have multiple URLs on your Instagram account to just sign up for Linktree. So the way that it works is in this bottom right-hand corner, it takes you online. You can do this on your desktop, which I normally do, or you can also do it through the app on the phone, but you can put as many links as you want. So say this very top left-hand corner, or register now URL link. Okay, so I have this link, and then I have another link, and I have another link, and all people have to do is click one link, and then they can see all of the active links. So that is something that's kind of the workaround for URLs in your social posts. Instead of putting them in the copy on an Instagram post, direct people to your bio, and then sign up for a Linktree account if you don't already have one. Okay, and then just one other quick thing with Instagram. for posting, there's an option to put the location, and I always recommend doing so. So maybe you're from Foam Lake, or you're from Saskatchewan or Saskatoon, or wherever you are, there's normally an option for your location. And the good thing about that is that when people are searching on their Instagram accounts, one of the options is you can actually search by location. So it allows your communication to be seen by other people who are interested in that location. So it allows your post to be organically seen by more people. And then hashtags. Okay, so we're still on Instagram and best practices when posting. So hashtags is its own little animal, and I recommend using them, but there is kind of a methodology behind them that I know not everybody's familiar with. So when you're creating hashtags, I would use hashtags that are a combination of branded or campaign, and then community-based. So your type of service or your community offering, and then your location. So like Saskatchewan, or if it's Rossern or wherever you are located, like add some location-based hashtags as well. So I think a healthy mixture would be using the branded campaign, community, and then also the location. And my recommendation is to actually open up an Excel spreadsheet and track these hashtags, just so that you're not on the fly trying to think of hashtags. You have some to just go back to quickly add, copy and paste into your post. But when you're looking for hashtags, where do you start, right? So for example, in the hashtag combo example, the first one, community development, community planning, what I kind of did was a recreation therapy. If you type one of those in, then in the middle example here, you can see like top recent reels. So if you check the top posts that have posted something such as recreation therapy, you can see other hashtags that they've used. So that can kind of help you just start thinking about where you want to go with your hashtag research, and how many hashtags you want to create, and all of that fun stuff. So you can max out at 30 hashtags per post. And I always recommend trying to aim to max out for 30. And then also to create like space in between the copy and then the hashtag. So there's actually a spacer that I can pop in the chat after this presentation if you want to copy and paste it and just save it somewhere on your computer for future reference. Then that's how you have these beautiful paragraph spacing versus having the hashtag right after the text, or having periods or some kind of marker to separate the hashtags from the text. And then I guess for Facebook, sometimes I see hashtags on Facebook and sometimes it makes sense, but most of the time it doesn't. So it makes sense if it's a branded campaign. So in this example here, we have the Best Drug in Healthcare Recreation Therapy for the TR Awareness Month. That makes sense because that's a cross-platform branded campaign. Or the Bell Let's Talk Day that happened yesterday, that's a cross-platform campaign. But if you're just doing a normal social post on Facebook, I would recommend not using a hashtag. Hashtags, the premise behind hashtags for Instagram is for people to find find content related to a certain theme through the search engine. And so it doesn't work quite like that with Facebook. So I would just say steer clear of hashtags for Facebook unless it's a cross-platform branded campaign. And yeah, that's hashtags. So now tagging accounts. Tagging accounts is a great way to reach your target audiences, reach other audiences that may not necessarily follow you, get people to share the content that you're sharing. And it's also a good idea to kind of create an Excel spreadsheet with a running list of accounts that you'll likely be tagging with your social media posts, just to kind of streamline the process for you. So when you are tagging, definitely include relevant tags that actually pertain to the content that's being shared. And then also incorporate the tags within the body of the copy. So it looks good if you can make it work within the text, but don't tag a bunch of random accounts to get the post in front of other accounts. It comes across as spammy and confusing. Don't save all of your tags for the end of the post. Like in this first example of SAS Polytech, I really like how they did their tag in the middle of the copy. So just kind of everything flows naturally together. And then don't assume that the business handles are the same across each platform. So in this example, the Canadian Mental Health Association, they have a different Facebook handle as they do an Instagram handle. So that's just something to be aware of. If you are tagging, say we were tagging them in a post, we would want to make sure that we're changing the tag from the Facebook post to the Instagram post. And then I'm just going to quickly check the chat. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Shelly. Okay, so we're going to do the tips and tricks, and then we're going to do some of the workbook stuff and open it up for a Q&A. So 3 tips and tricks for a stellar strategy. There's actually themes, reoccurring content, calendars, and implementing. So for the themes, again, as mentioned earlier, I like to keep it in odd numbers, so 3 or 5 themes. And KISS, so just keep it super simple. Don't overthink the themes. This is just kind of overarching themes where there's different content or that can go underneath these umbrellas. And yeah, it doesn't have to be crazy complicated. Just start somewhere and then you can always refine it down the road. So when you're creating your 3 themes, I would look back at the content that you've shared in the past and content that you want to share in the future and kind of go off of that. So for example, theme 1, add for SARP. These are SARP examples because I help SARP with their social media management. So the theme is advocacy, networking, education. So lots of the social posts will go under that theme umbrella. And then there's also announcements, newsletters, fun facts. So that stuff goes under a theme umbrella. And then sharing content of value from related organizations is its own theme. So that's super simple. And it's really easy if you make it super simple to like the creative juices just flow. And then it makes it easier just to uncover like all this content that can be shared and you feel like you have a system and it works beautifully. So now that you have your themes, we'll go to reoccurring content. So if there is in those themes, you'll likely have reoccurring content. And this is an example. This is the Therapeutic Recreation Awareness Month event. But if you structure certain posts in certain ways, it can streamline things and create consistency and still have a new fresh kind of communication vibe where others may not pick up on it. So in this example, we have words that will be changed, underlined in pink. And then like the same post structure from post to post when everyone's each TR awareness professional sharing their video. And then there's also a portion where the copy kind of stays the same. So that also is good when you're copying and pasting to do spell check and then keeping that Word document, then you just have this information that you can easily manipulate and move things out and just have reoccurring content. So that's a lot more simple when you're trying to manage your social media accounts because social media is very time consuming. And then calendars. So I hope everybody received the calendar sent out this morning. But what I do is I have the themes, I have some reoccurring content. Now what I'm going to do is map out a month. So I take the themes and I just kind of plug them in. So in this example for February, it's like theme 1's the first week, themes 2 is the second, 3 is the third, back at 1 the first, and then I always note certain dates that I want to celebrate or make mention of or note in the upcoming month. So the 17th is Random Acts of Kindness Day, but there's like a multitude of national days and months and weeks being recognized. So that can kind of be something that you may want to do, is just kind of research which days of the month you want to have a certain, or which events you want your company or organization to kind of share information about or recognize, and get in on it. March 8th is International Women's Day. So that's kind of coming up here quick, but there's so many of them. And I also, when I'm mapping out a calendar for the month and I'm including the themes, I'm also making note of the events or weeks or months that I kind of want to recognize with the business and organization. So the tips and tricks for a stellar strategy implement. So to implement everything that you kind of learned, especially with the stellar strategy, is it's really good to have a folder or some kind of content bank where you have a bunch of visuals gathered in one place, because you want to gather the visuals and the information necessary. So if you have any questions, or if you need something from someone, that this is like the time to get it when you're mapping everything out. And then lean on a social media scheduler. So Facebook has come so far with scheduling. You can now schedule Facebook and Instagram posts through the platform, which makes it super simple. There's also there's also Planoly, I believe, is a free account for Instagram. I'm not sure if Hootsuite still is, but Facebook's is so robust. I would honestly just recommend using the Facebook scheduler for both Facebook and Instagram. And you can schedule posts for one platform or the other, both, and it's super easy and seamless. So before we hit the Q&A, I was thinking that we could quickly go back, to the first workbook exercise. If you want to spend some time, maybe let's say 3 minutes on this, of who your organization is speaking to, and then also why is your existing social media following you, and what are their expectations. So if you wanted to just spend a few minutes on this, either writing it out on a piece of paper, or if you're able to print off the workbook in advance, that's awesome. Just to kind of get the juices flowing of how to create meaningful content. And if you have any questions, just feel free to pop them in the chat.
So we don't have any questions yet, but if anybody does have any, please pop them into the chat, and we will respond to them as quickly as possible. Okay, we do have one quick question from Eileen. I find it hard to focus my content when we have a wide range of communities with a focus on sport, culture, and recreation. Sarah, do you want to respond to that one?
Yeah, Eileen, can you unmute just so that we can kind of quickly discuss a little bit further? I just have a couple questions.
They won't be able to unmute because it's a webinar.
Okay, thank you. I guess, Eileen, if you could just pop in the chat, which organization, if you wouldn't mind, which organization you're in, just so that I can kind of have a better understanding of.
For sure. They actually did figure out how to unmute me.
Oh, awesome.
So we are with one of the sport, culture, and recreation districts. There's 7 of us in the province. And I just find sometimes doing the social media posts, I can post something about museums, but then my sport people are kind of disengaged, or I can post something about a tryout for badminton, and then my art gallery folks are disengaged.
Yeah, and I guess You may not be able, because there is such a wide array, range of followers, you may not be able to engage absolutely everyone on your following list with every single post. But and honestly, for every single organization, there's multiple audiences. So I would just make sure that when you are scheduling content or when you're planning your strategy, to make sure that you're incorporating a combination of information or content that kind of will eventually reach all of them. So say theme 1 reaches the museum people and theme 2 reaches the sports people, if that makes sense. Hopefully. Yeah, because I guess lots of, even like most social platforms will have multiple audiences. Lots of people will like dive or hash them out into client avatars. And yeah, I wouldn't worry about trying to make sure that every single piece of information that you share reaches everybody. I would just make sure that you're sharing a good mixture of content that will satisfy all of your audiences.
Great. Eileen says thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for asking a question.
Yeah, thank you.
Then,
we have another question from Keith. And it's, hi, Sarah, you may get to this topic later, but I wanted to put it on the table. What is your recommendation regarding how to deal with trolls or people who want to argue, dispute what we post?
I'm a believer of just ignoring them. And if they won't go away and they're causing a lot of, I guess, distress on your page, your accounts, or in your work world, I would just block and delete them. It's very easy. And there's lots of trolls out there, especially since the pandemic hit. It's like the trolls grew. And yeah, I wouldn't worry about trying to prove a point, or maybe you have like one quick reply, but if they're still kind of being unreasonable, you don't need them as a follower.
Thank you, Sarah. There's a question from Stacy. Stacy states that, is it true that if you edit a post in some way after you have posted it, it will somehow affect the likeliness of it showing up within people's feeds?
Well, that's with the algorithm. It depends. I would say technically the algorithm says yes, but I would always edit the post if it needs to be edited. There's posts that I've done even with my own personal accounts before where I've edited it, because I would rather someone does visit it down the road that they see the proper information versus trying to be seen by the masses. For example, in this photo on the bottom right top left-hand corner on the Instagram feed, that's actually 300 pixels too small by 300 pixels too small. But yeah, I would say edit if you can, and don't worry too much about that algorithm unless, oh, sorry, it's 5 minutes, unless, yeah, sorry, I would just say edit the post, and you can follow rules with the algorithm, but I think that you will also need to make sure that the communication that you're sharing is correct and true as well.
Right.
If that answers your question. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer.
Thank you.
And then, sorry, that was just my alarm that went off for the first section of the workbook. I'm not sure if anyone's following the workbook or if that's something that everyone would prefer to do later on their own time, but there is also another exercise for just getting making sure that you are creating meaningful content for your audiences in that workbook shared. And then there's also 2 for the seller profiles. And if you didn't receive a workbook or a calendar, I just recommend reaching out to Gillian and she'll be able to send that to you. And then I see that another question is from Keith Comstock. So another issue that often arises in my world is board council, other staff also post on things, etc., that may not necessarily line up with what the organization's position on an issue is. What are some tips for making sure that everyone is on the same page? Yeah, you can definitely do a practical course. I actually have started creating branding social media guidelines for some companies that have multiple people that are trying to accomplish the same thing. Or for example, I did one for Anytime Fitness last year because there's multiple personal trainers that need to like share certain information and be active on the accounts when they're working, but you want to make sure that it is kind of everything is cohesive. So a practical course that could work, or guidelines of some sort, so that everybody can easily refer to them when they're going to be sharing something on social media. That's always a good idea too. And you're welcome, Stacy. And yes, does anybody else have any questions? Or there's also, I put my information here because there's currently a grant on training again in Saskatchewan. And I believe the deadline is March 31st, but if anybody is interested in more training, like some formal training on social media for businesses, I would love to connect. And then Stacy has another question. So, okay, so I'll just read it out loud. Just to confirm something you spoke of earlier, because of the differences on how Facebook posts and Instagram posts have, if you want something to show up on both platforms, do you actually post it separately on each? Or is it a good option to still have the post linked, but then go back on Facebook later to edit how it shows up, such as the tags of another page, etc.? So the Facebook scheduling tool now does encompass Instagram. So what I would recommend is scheduling 2 separate posts through the Facebook scheduling tool, and one just with the hashtags for the Instagram and then one without, only because I see an issue being that if you're having to go in and edit the post, things happen throughout the day or the evening, and it's the likelihood of you being able to do it on time every time that post goes out is eventually becomes unlikely, especially in our busy day and age. So I would it's super easy, just I would create the post in the Facebook scheduling tool for Facebook, and then I would copy and paste it, and then I would add the hashtags. And actually, I'm just going to quickly put in the chat that spacer that I swear by. So I'm just going to get out of this screen really quickly. Sorry, because so the spacer is for Instagram, and all you have to do is copy and paste it. And I kind of do either 7 or 9 paragraph spaces. And then you just have to remove the first and last bracket. And that's kind of how I get that effect on my social posts when I'm creating or adding hashtags to the Instagram post. I get that like long paragraph break is just by using that spacer. So like you just saw on my desktop, I have it on my notes so that it's easily accessible. I hope that answers your question. Oh, thank you, Gillian. But yeah, I would do them separately and not worry about editing them later. And oh, that's amazing. Yeah, you're lucky if you can do things in real time. That is awesome. If you're ever trying to schedule something in advance, I would recommend doing it separately.
I'm just going to read Stacy's last comment out to everybody. Thank you. I have tried the Facebook scheduler, as I typically am able to post things exactly at the time I want to show up, but I may start using it for the purpose of creating 2 separate posts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I guess I would just recommend, if you're trying to get your best foot forward for social media for the new year, I would recommend just hashing out some time to kind of do some hashtag research, create those themes, do some emoji research, create a spreadsheet with accounts that you normally tag, just so that you can kind of be on the ball. And things may be slower now, but if they get busy in the future, you still are able to manage everything with ease. And another quick thing back to the valuable content. I find that content with real people in the community or the organization or the workplace, those are the pieces of content that seem to be received best. So if you can somehow incorporate some kind of meet so-and-so from my workplace, or staff appreciation or member appreciation of some sort, some type of campaign, that I think will pick up lots of traction, and your following will likely find value and will find that content meaningful.
Are there any further questions before we thank Sarah? Just one last, give it about a minute.
And thank you everybody for joining in. I hope that everybody was able to take something away from this session.
I know that I was able to take a lot away from the session. I am not a social media guru, so I really appreciate all the knowledge and information that came today. So thank you so much, Sarah. We truly appreciate that information that you provided to us. So many helpful social media tips and tricks. As an instructor, I particularly appreciated the information on spell check, but then I also appreciated using hashtags and understanding what they're used for instead of just making up my own, which I do. So thank you everyone for attending. You'll be receiving a link to a short survey, so please take a few minutes to complete it. If you aren't a member of SARP, please consider joining our association. You can send an email to office@sarponline.com that Guylaine had posted earlier, and or give the office a call if you have any questions. So for our current members, please remember to renew your membership for 2022 and follow us on social media to see what's in store this year. Sarah is our social media guru. I work quite closely with her and she has saved me so many times. So check out our social media to see what's in store and have a wonderful rest of the week.